Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I'm excited about my next guest. I have Stephanie here. We have had the pleasure of talking in a Zoom call prior to this interview, and I'm so excited because we had a great connection of being like minded about choices that we decide that we're going to make in order to live a better version of ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I'm excited to get into what that means for Stephanie. But before we get into the interview, I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. This is truly a treat and a blessing. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Stephanie. I am an author, a podcast host, a mentor, coach. I'm all about women empowerment, and it can start with infants. I'm
Amen.
all of starting early, women empowerment, teaching women that they can live the best version or be the best versions of themselves and live their best lives by the way they think, making sure to choose the right mindset and always um, loving on themselves and giving themselves self-compassion and grace and affirmation and affirming themselves. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm all about, empowering women.
I love that. And, I mean, this is something that really I think should be just normal, but for some reason it's kind of abnormal.
Yeah.
I'm finding that I have been drawn to do the very same thing, but it's coming from history in my own life of feeling like I have to compete, that I can't really collaborate, for some reason I was under this belief that, I got to be better than the next person, so to
Mm.
speak. So when you're dealing with empowering women, what are some of the challenges with that? What are some things that, have really been hard obstacles with making that a reality?
Just like you said, the competition over collaboration or the self-doubt, um, not believing that their voice is important or who they are is important as the next woman, you know, um, just believing in themselves is the biggest thing. Self-doubt, oh, self-doubt is big and it can stop us from doing so many things, even the smallest of things. And so a lot of times I deal with that with women, even with myself. Being an author, when I first wrote my book, in the beginning I was like, why am I doing this? What am I going to say that hasn't already been said by somebody? Like, what's going to be different about mine? But I had to get out of that mindset to say that I am going to say something different. Even if it's for one person, I did my part. Um, and so we just got to get out of that self-doubt, not believing that we can do something or we're capable or even worthy of doing something.
I love that because I mean, I was in that space and it also led me down a path of hiding behind a lot of masks. It's like I had to cover up the unpopular parts of me and continue to put on the highlight reel, so to speak. So
Yeah,
when it
you're
comes,
representative.
yes, you know what I mean? So, when you find people that are struggling with that, what advice would you give them? Because now that we have had this pandemic, we've had plenty of time to kind of reflect, think about things, but we're in this rebuilding, so to speak, process. So, in rebuilding the proper way, what advice would you give someone about how to move forward with that?
Um, the biggest thing is we have to rewire our brains. Like I spoke about with self-doubt, self-doubt kicks in so fast. It's almost immediately. When you want to do something, that negative thought pops up immediately, and our brains are just wired to immediately think of the negative. So we have to be intentional and rewire our brains so that we immediately kick out that negative thought and positivity comes in and affirming comes in and believing and trusting ourselves come in. So the biggest part of that is rewiring our minds and how we think so that we can counteract what we've been used to.
Mm. And I think that's such a good point. And so, what goes through this rewiring process? Because I think a lot of us are like, oh, I want to be better. I got to do this, just like exercise. I'm doing it tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'm getting started. So, what is it that we kind of really need to go through to accomplish this rewiring?
Well, first you need to recognize what those points are those things that are stopping you. Like, is it hesitation? Is it you feeling helpless? Is it just not believing yourself? You got to figure out what those things are that you have to change or counteract, and then you have to intentionally just go maybe create a journal. So something that I do and I tell my clients to do is there's an activity by a coach, a life coach. His name is James Simpson, and
Hmm.
it's called Give. And what I do is in that, with the G, you write down several things that you are grateful for, and don't just stick to the regular, oh, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my children, I'm grateful. We know you're grateful for
Right.
those things, but
Hmm.
be a little more creative. Start to speak things in existence. I'm grateful for that business I'm going to start. I'm grateful for the confidence that I'm going to have because I know my stuff, you know. And then you go with the I, which is the intention. Pick words or phrases that help you set your intentions. Like, today, I'm going to be more compassionate to myself. Today, I'm going to be more confident in myself. Today, I'm going to be grateful. Um, I'm going to be more loving, whatever it is to kind of counteract any types of negativity. Today, I'm going to be more positive, you know?
Hmm.
And then for the V, it's the vision. So write down your vision, whether it's just for today or if it's a month from now or a year from now, write down what you see happening for you. And then the E is execution. What are you going to do today to help you get to that vision that you just wrote down? And so I started doing that every morning to kind of help me rewire my brain and to take control of my thoughts. And it helps because it reminds me to be grateful. It reminds me to set intentions on how I choose to feel. It reminds me to think about my vision and how I want my life to be. And it also reminds me of the things that I need to do to make this vision happen.
I love that. And so a lot of these things that you're saying is about being intentional for what you do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so explain to somebody who's listening why that is so important as the source of the things that we're changing to come from ourself rather than being outward focused. Does
So
that question make sense?
you're asking why it's important to be intentional.
With doing it for you and how that can help with you interacting with others. Because most people are like, oh, I don't give enough. So let me just start giving to other people. But why is it so important to start with you first
Mm-hmm.
before you
So
start going with others?
let's use that example that you just gave with the whole giving.
Okay.
Oh, I don't give enough. So I need to give more. Well, sure, you could give more, but don't just give to any and everybody. Choose specifically or pray specifically about who you need to give to. So if there's a certain organization that speaks volumes that you have passion about, give to that
Mhm.
organization. And it doesn't have
Mhm.
to be money. It could be your time. Um, and so being intentional means putting thought into what you're about to say, what you're about to do, what you're about to think, and being intentional means you are taking control. You're just not, what's the verse in the Bible where it says, "Be quick to listen and slow to speak." That slow to speak is you just not flying off at the mouth saying whatever comes to your mind. You
Mhm.
actually take the time to think about, what am I going to say in this situation? What am I going to do in this situation? How am I going to react in this situation? So it is very important to be intentional, um, because it helps set the tone for you and your life. You're not going to go off on a whim and make emotional decisions that could cause chaos, probably some chaos that's already existing. And it helps you be more in control, because a lot of times that's what we want. We want to be in control. And so being intentional is just that. It helps me to be more in control of thoughts, actions, and is whatever is possible for me to be intentional. My feelings. It helps you get control of those things, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
It does. I mean, it really does, and I mean, I think that's so true because a lot of times, we have the intention about the outcome, but like I love the thing that you said about execution. What steps is it going to take to get to that outcome?
Hmm.
We don't think about that. We just think it's a magic carpet or a
Yeah,
lottery ticket or something that's just going to fall from the sky. And we're not intentional about the steps that we take to get there. So I think
right.
that is
So
amazing.
you could be saying, "Oh, um, in a year, I want to have $1 million in my bank account." Well, what are you going to do to get that million? What steps are you going to
Exactly.
take to make that happen? Is there any debt that you need to pay off? Do you need to increase multiple streams of income? What are the steps that you're going to take to make sure you can get to that in a year? It's about
Exactly.
being intentional.
Yeah, I love that. And so that is just very good. I love that mindset. So talk to us about how you got involved with women's empowerment. Out of all the different things that you could be pursuing, what made it so important for you to pursue empowerment with women?
I think it just, like most people, it began with something personal.
Mhm.
Um, there was a lack in what I needed and what was there for me, and the empowerment that I needed in certain times in my life and situations that I went through. And so I wanted to create that for other women out there that need it and they didn't have it. Um, it's important to know, especially when times are hard, that you are not alone. I know
Mhm.
it feels like it, but you're not. Somebody out there has gone through what you've gone through, or they may be going through it too. But we can go through it together. We can uplift each other. We can empower each other. And so I've always had a heart for women and children. I think it's just how I was wired. I think I came out that way.
Mhm.
But it's been innate, and it comes naturally that I have a heart and a passion to empower women. I I was born with it, maybe.
I love that. I think that is so good because I was listening to somebody, I don't know if it was on Clubhouse or not, but they said that your trials can be a blueprint for somebody else.
Oh wow, yes.
Isn't that amazing? So, I
Yes.
mean, I think that is so true because I look at my own journey and it's like, I struggled with depression for 13 years, 3 hospitalizations. And it's like, why should somebody have to have that same story? you know,
Yeah.
why don't I just give them a couple of cliff notes so that they don't even have to
Yeah.
go down that road, okay? So,
Yes. And I
that's
think
amazing.
and that's why I created my podcast. My podcast is called Broken Into Beautiful, and it is basically a platform that I invite women on to tell their story and to let other women out there know, hey, I went through this too, and this is how I was able to get through it. And I hope that you can use me, contact me, connect with me, or whatever we need to do to help you get through it.
Mhm, mhm. I love that. So what are some things that you do to kind of keep you in that growth mindset? Because, it's like I always tell my kids that, you have a song person, somebody that sings and they're on top today, but next year is somebody else. So it's that whole thing of feeling like the relevancy. Are you going to always be relevant? So, with the line of work that you do, what are some things that you do in your routine that helps you to stay relevant?
Um, Affirmations. I'm a
Mm.
words person. One of my love languages is affirmations, and
Mm.
um, I constantly I make it a habit to affirm myself.
Amen.
And you know, we're always so quick to encourage others, affirm others, and encourage, but we don't necessarily do it for ourselves. We give
Mhm.
each other those pep talks and girl, you can do this. But then when it comes to us, we don't do it for ourselves. And there's not always somebody else there to do it. And so
Right.
I have made it I've been intentional that
Mhm.
I will affirm myself every single day, all day. And that is what I do. I get up in the morning, whether I'm listening to songs that I feel empowered by, write it in my journal. I have an app on my phone called I Am, and I have it set up to
Mm.
send me affirmations 10 hours a day. So I get
Amen.
all kinds of affirmations. And when I see them on my phone, I'll sit there and I'll say them out loud. I don't care where I am, at work, at home.
Amen.
I say them because I want to truly live it out and affirm myself. And I cannot see me being able to help another woman when I'm not practicing what I preach.
Amen. That's awesome. So, do you write the affirmations yourself, or they send them to you? Different affirmations. How does
They
that work?
send them. It's an app where, and it's called I Am, and they
Okay.
actually send them to you. And there's different categories you can choose, whether it's love or
Mm.
healing or religion. You can choose different categories. I selected all of them because I want them all. Um, and like there's so many things. Like I'll go on Pinterest and I created a
Mhm.
statements that I like board on Pinterest and quotes, affirmations, statements, anything. I send it to that Pinterest board, and sometimes I might just be scrolling through Pinterest on my board, reading
Amen.
affirmations and statements. So, or even creating them myself. I even y'all, it's so easy to get affirmations. You can even go on iTunes, type in affirmations, and you got a list, albums of
Amen.
people, you know, so that it's so easy to do and get.
I love that. I love that. I mean, this is amazing. So I think there is so much truth to that because I like to have visual cues. So I buy coffee cups that say, kindness is great or whatever, because it just reminds me, that when I look around the room, because, you just can get into this mindset, woe is me at any time, depending on what's
Yeah.
going on. So I think it's so important to practice that. Now, one of the things that you said is that, you set these up to come to you during the day. And so, can you speak to the audience about how proactive you have to be? Because I think a lot of people say, oh, that's okay for her. She's got a business and, things are going well for her. But about the work that goes into being intentional,
Well,
because I think a lot of people miss that.
yeah, and I'm gonna be transparent. Things are not always going well. Things are not, you know, it's not always the best situation. Um, I still have a full-time job, so I work from 7 to 3:30 on Monday through Fridays. And I have to make sure that I stay on top of that because, like you said, at any moment you could get down, and sometimes it can be so thick that it just pulls you. It's like a weight. You got a rock tied to you, and you underwater, and you just sitting in it. And it takes work. It takes practice. Practice makes progress. I don't like to say practice makes perfect because
Amen.
I feel like it puts too much pressure on you. So practice makes progress. You have to keep practicing and it'll become better and easier and
Mhm.
more like a habit, second nature, and it just comes out because the more you do it, the more you get used to it. They say it takes 21 days to make a habit. For 21 days, set the intent to affirm yourself for 3 hours a day or however you want to do it. But it does take work and you have to stick to it. And even if you forget, don't go self-compassion. Don't be
Mhm.
hard because we can be our own worst critics with the worst to ourselves. So even if you forget one day and you didn't affirm yourself or encourage yourself at all, it's okay.
Mhm.
You can still do it. Your life is not over. You're still here. Just
Mhm.
move on. It's just like if you're taking medication and you miss a dose, take it. Some medications say take it when you remember, and some say
Mhm.
take it when it's time for the next dose. You don't
Mhm.
stress about it. It's
Mhm.
gonna be taken. So
Mhm.
same thing. If you forget, it's okay. Just keep going.
I love that. And that is so true because I think, that's the thing that I like to speak about. People think because you begin to be a spokesperson, so to speak, or, you're out front, on the lines helping others that, it's symbolic with them of thinking, oh, I've arrived and, I don't have any issues. And I think
Oh
that,
no.
it's definitely an example of showing people that nothing is going to be perfect. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I look at it, it's like, hey, there are times my kids are screaming right before I get into this podcast. And it's like, you got to know where to be intentional with the moments that you have.
Yeah.
You know, arguing and fussing with kids, that's something that's going to happen. But, right now it's the intention for the interview or whatever that is. So I think
Mhm.
people kind of miss that.
Yeah. And to me, I feel like when you're out in front of people, that's more pressure because you gotta that also gives you accountability because you gotta keep this up because people are now watching versus in the background where nobody sees you, so you can get away with not doing it or not practice what you preach. You can get away because nobody sees you. But when you're in
Right.
the front, they see you and you got to be on your game. So
So
I
true.
think it's even harder then and more pressure then because people are watching.
Yeah, so true. And it's amazing. People make comments or, reach out,
Yeah,
send you a message. It's like, wow, I didn't even know they were knew what I
right.
was doing. You know. So that is so true. Well, this is just awesome. So when can they hear your podcast? Where's that at?
So my podcast again is called Broken Into Beautiful, and it is on all the major platforms. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, they're all there. It's called Broken Into Beautiful, and I release an episode every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, you can catch either me or another woman that I have on telling their stories.
Mm, that's amazing. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Oh man, you can find me anywhere. So on IG, it's broken into beautiful. So it's BROKENN the number two and beautiful, broken into beautiful. On Facebook, it's Stephanie Cooper, and I know there are a lot of Stephanie Coopers. It's a very common name, but you'll see me. I have a little pink turban on, and some denim earrings. So I think it's the same picture that you actually have on there. So you'll find me. Um, you can also email me, stephanie.d.cooper@gmail. LinkedIn is Stephanie Lewis, Lewis. So you can find me. I'm out here.
Awesome. I love that. And then talk to us about your book. What's the title of the book and where
The
can they
book
find it?
The book is called Talitha Koam, Little Girl, I Say to You, Get Up. It is a 30-day devotional for women. I call it a motivational devotional. And it's just a book where I'm just giving statements, scriptures, and words to encourage you to get up. Don't sit in your mess. Get what you need to get from it and move on. I talk about your attitude and how you should react and not react to
Mm,
situations. I talk about your tongue and how powerful that is. And the whole book is based off the scripture in Mark where Jesus went to heal the little girl who had died, and everybody said, "Oh, she's dead. Don't worry about it." And he like, "Mm-mm. So you don't believe? Get out.
get on
Everybody,
out. Get
y'all
it.
get on out of here. Get out of here. I got this." Now the
Right.
parents get to stay because y'all believe, and I
Right.
talk about that too. You got to get those people out of there that don't believe because they're gonna mess up your thing. So get them
So
out,
true.
escort them out, just like Jesus did. And he
Yeah.
told that girl to get up, and she got up, told her mama and daddy to give her something to eat because she hungry.
I
And
love that.
that's what it is. And it's just a devotional where I motivate you to get up and live your purpose, do what you're supposed to do. And it is sold on Amazon, and online at Barnes and Noble.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I love that because, you know, doubt and unbelief can stop you.
Yes.
I remember in the scripture where, you know, Jesus was going to the different towns and he couldn't do something in one space because the people didn't believe.
I can believe.
You know, and he is not a God that will override your own willpower, you know. So I think that is so good that you brought that up because a lot of people blame God, blame the devil, whatever, but it's what you believe that can
Hmm.
stop you from manifesting things and moving forward in life. So I think that's a great point that you brought up.
Yes. I'm all
Hmm.
about speaking life. Like I said, the tongue is powerful.
Amen. Yes, it is. It says it. So this is great. This has been great insight. So what final words would you like to share with everybody who's watching?
Um, I have this little, I have words all over my house. This one,
Mhm.
it says, pray more, worry less.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Be
Great
brave,
advice.
be adventurous. You know, it's okay to be scared. Um, I think that makes us a little humble to be afraid sometimes,
Amen.
but
Amen.
be afraid, but still do it. Do
I
it
love that.
scared.
Great advice. You're right because you know, if you have too much intel, then you don't have any faith. Because if it's a sure thing that you could see in front of you, there is no faith for what you can see. It's
Yeah.
the stuff you can't see. That's the
And you get a
faith.
little
So,
cocky, and then, so
yeah. So true. Well, thank you so much for all your insights, Stephanie. So glad we connected. And this has just been wonderful. I encourage all the listeners that if this is something that really resonated with you to reach out, you know, take some action. Don't just listen to the information and not do anything. Take action, get on the website, do what you need to do in order to have a conversation and move forward.
yes.
If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll be sure that Stephanie gets them. So, again, we want to say thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us and
Thank
sharing your
you.
insight.
It's been a
You
privilege. I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I am looking forward to hearing some of those episodes, and I encourage you guys to listen to her podcast. You know, it is a great one to hear about the stories of other people that are being transparent and sharing the real story behind the highlight reel that a lot of us, you know, hide behind a lot of times. So I encourage you to take a listen. But in
Yeah.
the meantime, go
And
ahead.
I'm sorry, but if you out there and you want to tell your story, contact me so we can get your use your voice. Because
Amen.
somebody out there needs to hear it. So if you out there and you're ready, just contact me so we can make it happen.
Awesome. Well, that has just been wonderful. We thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you all on the next episode. Bye for now.
Yay. Bye.